The good thing about journaling is that it holds no standards of any kind. It's just you. And I'll tell you how to epically journal like me. Number 1. Focus on the content of it, not on the looks. Contrary to what you'd see on Pinterest the first time you type in journaling, it's not necessarily about the designs, but it's about what's written in there. Although if you want to design it, go for it. Me, I personally design it, but on a minimal level only because I feel distracted when I have to think about the creativity process of it. I'll show you later. In Stoicism, journaling is a part of self-reflection and improvements, and it's exactly that. What I do is that I write everything that I think of, feel towards anything, and the ideas about the stuff I'm involved in. And I mean every single thing that I think about. I also recommend keeping your journal near you so that whenever you're in the middle of work and then you think of something, you can just jot it down there, and then later on, after you finish your work, then you can see your reminders there and then think about it. If you think of something that needs to be done while you're doing something, you can just jot it down there and then continue concentrating on the work that you're doing. And then later on, after concentrating on something that you're doing, you can just look in your journal and then process it. After that, when you've seen the reminder, then boom, you're productive because you did sway your concentration on something that you were focusing on, because you suddenly thought of something. Instead, it's just there to remind you so that later on you can do that task afterward. I think writing physically is also better because it makes you feel like a god. Traditionally, journaling has always been writing with a piece of pen and paper, so that's what I recommend. But do whatever you want. Some people are using e-journals now, but I personally want it physically. And if you do that, that means you're very cool, like me. And this is how you jot it down. Number 2, do bullet journaling. Usually, journaling has always been in paragraphs and about what happened throughout your day, so that later on you could reflect on it and maybe the next morning. But what I do personally is bullet journaling. I also write on my journal actively, meaning that if I think of something or feel something, I write it as soon as I can. Anyway, bullet journaling was invented by Ryder Carroll, where basically he has a system to follow in terms of journaling. He has a method in terms of setting goals weekly, daily, monthly, or yearly even. And he also has a system wherein you could track your habits and make it more satisfying for you. What I do personally is that I write the main thought first, or something that I was currently doing when an idea or feeling or just a random thought pops in my head. And then below that, indented, is a dash and then further explaining what exactly am I doing, like what exactly am I thinking. I also don't write it in full proper sentences. Instead, I just write it in phrases. I do that because it's much more faster to write it and that it seems easier for me to reflect on later. Here's an example, but don't judge, alright? This is the last journal that I had. Let's see if there's anything interesting here. Oh, this is funny. Only 30 minutes of nonsense. Under that is, wow, so cool, feels nice. And another one is, my bio long test. Under is, pretty confident in it, though I got 31 out of 50 in the periodic. Oh, here's a good one. Yoga intermediate. Under that is, like it, maybe I'll do intermediates from now on. And I actually did the next stage. I'm gonna focus more on the thought and reflection of journaling, but the core of bullet journaling is for tasks or like major events that happens that is important in your life or for your work. If you want to know his system, you can just go directly to his channel. He explains everything there is about Bujo. But don't click away. Finish this one first. Number 3, reflect. What I do that you can copy is that I reflect by reading everything that I read prior to the day. I do it in the morning so that before I start my day, I could just see the mistakes or regrets or maybe the things that I can improve on yesterday. I do it right after my morning routine. So I wake up, drink water, change my clothes, freshen up, open my laptop, do the calligraphy, and then I read everything. And then if I have more thoughts, I could just write it there, and then I go ahead and do my other habits. By calligraphy, I mean stuff like this. And then by reflecting, I think of like, oh, that was kind of immature of me. If something was a bit immature, and then, oh, I wasted so much time on this. If I wasted so much time on a certain thing. And if I find myself throughout the day doing those frustrations again, I would just think that this happened yesterday, I don't have to do it again. Since I also put reminders on my journal yesterday, on the current day, I would write down all the reminders that I have again for the future me. And then I would do it. An example would be maybe when I'm work at night, I would say, have a meeting with Dio at 3 p.m. And then the next day, I would read that and said, oh, I have a meeting with Dio at 3 p.m. And then I write it in my current journal or I write it in my to-do list so that I would just be reminded. Nothing gets left out. The day gets more productive. If you want to be more active in your reflecting, I suggest using prompts. There's tons of it online or maybe in other videos. But me, I don't personally use it because I prefer to just have my own little me time by reflecting on myself. I only use the prompts maybe on like a monthly reflection or a yearly reflection. Number 4, start off simple. If you feel like you're bombarded with the stuff that you see online on what to do with your journal, like daily gratitude prompt, daily quote, daily affirmation section, you don't have to do all those. The important thing is you write on your journal about what you're feeling, what your thoughts are, the ideas in your head, and then you reflect on it later on. The key of journaling is that you improve as a person, not necessarily by how much you're following online or how pretty your bullet journaling is. Your journal is for yourself, unless probably you have a sibling. And then I also junk journal, sticking in my journal the things that remind me of certain events, like this one. See? And then I write on it, what's it about? Anyway, I'm curious about other people who journal, or if you're starting your journaling journey. I don't really care, but I do encourage you because it's very good for your mental health. If you have more questions, if you want to know more about the journaling stuff that I do, you can just comment down below. That's so cringe to say, but you can just comment or DM. I don't really care, I'll answer regardless. That's it. Bye! These are all the journals that I have.